Peace and love, family. Today, we are continuing our journey with week 2 of our series, focusing on self-cultivation. Our topic today is about nurturing ourselves so that we can, in turn, nurture our families, communities, and future generations. Self-cultivation is a critical part of our divine mission as Moorish women. We are the mothers of civilization, and that comes with great responsibility. As it says in the Muslim Girls Training Guide, we are being seeded with the civilization of tomorrow. We have to prepare them for that future, so we must live the life that Allah wants us to live. This means that the work we do to improve ourselves is not just for us. It's for our children, for the next generation, and for the future of our nation. In today's lesson, we'll talk about what self-cultivation means, why cultural preservation is key to our growth, and how we can take practical steps to continue learning and growing every day. So, what exactly is self-cultivation? At its core, self-cultivation is the ongoing process of improving yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically. It's about striving to be the best version of yourself in every aspect of life. And as Moorish women, we have a duty to constantly elevate ourselves. As the Muslim Girls Training Guide tells us, we must work in thought, words, and deeds to become perfected and of the noblest character. This is about growth in all areas, how we think, how we speak, and how we act. When we grow, we uplift not only ourselves but also those around us. When we elevate our minds, we inspire our children, our sisters, our brothers, and our entire community. One of the most important aspects of self-cultivation is spiritual growth. Without spiritual growth, the rest can feel empty. We must always center our spiritual practices. This includes daily prayers, reflection, and consistent study of our sacred texts, the Holy Quran, and of course, the Muslim Girls Training Guide. Now, take a moment and reflect on this. How are you cultivating your spirit? What spiritual practices do you already have in place? And what areas could you strengthen? Remember, self-cultivation starts with being honest with ourselves about where we are and where we need to improve. Next, let's talk about something that goes hand in hand with self-cultivation, cultural preservation. Our culture is the foundation of our identity as Moorish women. When we cultivate ourselves, we are also protecting and passing down the values, traditions, and knowledge that make us who we are. This is especially important because we are raising the next generation. It's our duty to teach our children and the youth of our community the richness of our Moorish heritage. The Muslim Girls Training Guide states, "The sisters in auxiliary must help and strive hard to uplift the virtue of intelligence in our Moorish American nation." We must be intentional in teaching our children and others what it means to be Moorish, our values, our traditions, our customs. And how do we do that? First, we lead by example. All sisters must learn the truth and the divine truth and serve as the example to their children daily. This means living our values every single day. If we want our children to carry on our legacy, we have to embody it ourselves. But beyond leading by example, we must also take practical steps to teach our culture. This could be through storytelling, through family traditions, or by teaching our children the significance of certain Moorish practices. For example, when we prepare certain foods, when we dress in a certain way, or when we gather for religious observances, we should be explaining the why behind these actions. We should be educating our children about the meaning and purpose behind these cultural practices so that they carry them forward with pride and understanding. Our ancestors understood the importance of protecting their culture, and it's up to us to continue that work. We as a nation of people cannot be civilized acting like foreign savages. We must hold firm to our culture, especially in a world that often tries to pull us away from our roots. Now, let's move on to another key element of self-cultivation: continuous learning. Education isn't something that ends once we finish school. Learning is a lifelong journey. And as Moorish women, we must always strive to grow our knowledge, skills, and abilities. The Muslim Girls Training Guide tells us that the sisters in auxiliary should be trained into the knowledge of general housekeeping, how to cook, sew, clean house, read, write, and speak clearly. This speaks to the importance of being well-rounded in our abilities. Whether it's improving our skills in the home, continuing to read and study, or learning new things that help us in our daily lives, we should never stop seeking knowledge. I encourage each of you to set a goal for yourself. Over the next 30 days, choose one skill you want to improve, whether that's handwriting, reading more books, or learning something new, and commit to practicing it every day. This is part of your self-cultivation journey. This is part of how we grow as individuals and as a community. Finally, sisters, we must remember that as Moorish women, we are not just cultivating ourselves for our own sake. We are doing this for the sake of future generations. We are role models. Our children, our nieces, our younger sisters, they look up to us. They watch how we carry ourselves. They listen to what we say and how we say it. The Muslim Girls Training Guide teaches us, a Muslim is a holy person practicing all that is divine and natural, and instructs everyone that does not love and obey Allah and His prophets. This means we have a responsibility to guide others through our actions. We must be the living example of what it means to be a righteous Moorish woman. I want you to think about the young women in your life. How are you setting an example for them? What are you teaching them, not just through your words, but through your daily actions? Our children are watching, and it's our responsibility to guide them with love, patience, and wisdom. As we close this section, let's commit to practicing daily acts of self-cultivation. This can be as simple as setting aside time for prayer and reflection each morning, practicing a new skill, or finding ways to teach something meaningful to a child or a sister. Sisters, today we've explored what it truly means to cultivate ourselves, not just for our own growth, but for the growth of our nation and our future generations. We've talked about how self-cultivation begins with spiritual growth, how preserving our culture is key to our identity, how continuous learning should be part of our daily lives, and how we must lead by example. Remember this: we are the mothers of civilization, uplifted and perfected with national standards which make us holy and make our nation free. We have been given a great responsibility, and it's up to us to live up to it. Take what you've learned today and apply it in your daily life. Reflect on your own practices, your goals, and the legacy you are passing on to those who come after you. Thank you for joining me today, sisters. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss next week's presentation. Until then, stay grounded and stay on the path of self-cultivation. Peace and love.